Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Before we dive into the project, I wanted to let you know that the entire project is going to be done using my brand new 1-inch Wonder Forest wash brush. This is the latest addition to my paintbrush collection. I wanted to create a large brush for background washes and filling in larger areas. So after a lot of testing, trying out different materials, that sort of thing, I finally came up with this. It is entirely 100% synthetic, as my other brushes are. It's super soft and fluffy, which allows for the bristles to kind of smush and bend to your paper. I'm selling these now in my Wonder Forest store, but stick around to the end of the video and I'll tell you about a cool deal that I have going on. Okay, so let's dive into the project. I wanted to create a really simple project for those beginners because I wanted to also demonstrate how to use this brush. If you're unsure what a wash brush is great for, I will demonstrate it for you right now. So I've got a sheet of paper and I'm just applying clean water to the entire sheet of paper using the wash brush. The square shape of the bristles really allows you to get larger areas covered, and the absorbency of the bristles is going to make sure that you get a nice even coat. So start by just dampening your paper. You don't want it soaking wet, you just want it damp and shiny like how I have shown you here. Now I'm mixing together turquoise and a little ultramarine blue. All of the supplies that I use, as always, are listed in the description below. And we're creating a sky scene, so you're just going to start applying that color to the top portion, actually top 3/4 portion of your paper. This is going to be the first layer. We are going to do a couple other layers on top of this to start building up the intensity of the color. So for this first layer, we're just going to apply this. I do have my paper sort of tilted on an angle to allow the color to drip down. And then I'm taking a tissue and just dabbing off some of that paint along the bottom edge. I do want to make sort of a lighter white cloudy feel in the center area. So by creating a lighter area now, it's going to allow that area to stay light as we add more layers. Hopefully that makes sense. So since I pretty much took off the water from the bottom section here, it's pretty dry. So I'm just going to re-wet that area a little bit so that I can go in and start applying my second color, which is going to allow for that nice sunset transition effect. And again, you just want the paper damp. So with that still damp, I'm going to grab some burnt sienna, which is a really nice orangey shade. I've mixed that a little bit with gamboge hue to make the orange color pop a little bit more. And using the brush, I'm just going to lightly sort of sweep on some of the color. I'm going to let that touch into the blue a little bit. And I'm just going to be really light-handed with it at first. Again, I do want to keep that middle section a little bit clean. You can see that the colors kind of got a little muddy mixing together. So I'm just going to take my tissue, blot that off a little bit, again exposing some of the paper and keeping that area light. Now letting that dry completely, I'm going to go over the paper once again with clean water. And then grabbing my blue mixture, I'm just going to very light-handedly add on another layer of that blue. I kind of started waving my brush a little bit to get the effect of wispy sort of clouds and different variations in the sky. And then with my orange mixture, I'm just going to do the same thing along the bottom here. You want to work fairly quickly because you do want the paper to stay damp. I'm adding a bit more of an orangey shade here. I believe this is cadmium orange hue, and a little bit more gamboge hue to make these colors a little bit more saturated. And then wiping the color off of my brush, I can just kind of go along the middle area there and very gently blend those together. I'm going to take the tissue again and just create that lightened area one more time in the very center here. This might not look like much right now, but as I go and add on the third or the final layer, you're gonna see how the light area just kind of lends to that whole sunset effect. Okay, so I've let this dry. We're going to be working with a wet on dry wash as opposed to the wet on wet wash that we just did previously. So to create the final effect, I'm just grabbing some of that blue color and I'm just very lightly making these sort of wispy strokes along the top area. And when I'm finished this, it's just going to look like those wispy clouds with those light and dark variations in the sky. I'll do the exact same thing with the bottom color here, adding a little bit more orange. And you can see the speed that I'm going at now. It's just very loose, very light, going back and forth, sort of making some of the lines a little bit wispy, a little bit wavy as I go. As I get to that center area, I want these to blend together in the lightened area that we worked on. So I'm just taking clean water, just a little bit. You don't want too much. You don't want to wet the whole paper and get like those cauliflower effects. But you just want to drag the brush kind of in the middle of the two colors and allow them to do their thing. Now I'm using the edge of the brush to add in a couple of little detail splotches of color. So I'm just dragging the orange back and forth, and because the paper's still damp, it's gonna blend out really nicely. I've also added a little bit more yellow to the center here to really give that sunlit effect. So I've let that dry completely. Again, we have a bone dry paper, and I'm just taking the brush, using it very intentionally in this direction, and I've taken indigo and I'm just dragging along a mountain shape in the foreground. And then I'm just going to fill that in once more with the color and using the edge of the brush to get those sharper edges along the mountains. And I always like to speed things up with my hair dryer, so I've just got it at the hottest setting, and I'm just going to dry that. Once that layer is completely dry, I'm going to grab lamp black, and it's going to make it a little bit darker. So the mountains that are more in the foreground are usually going to look darker than the ones in the distance. So I'm just going to kind of mimic what I did previously and create darker mountains in the foreground. And just by wiggling my brush a little bit, I can get those edges and then fill in the rest of the area, kind of define those a little bit more with the edge of the brush. So once that is totally dry, we can go ahead and peel off the tape. I love this part. I love when the borders show. It just looks so pretty. And you can definitely see here in the center area where we did wipe off some of that paint, it definitely is lighter. It looks like sort of long wispy clouds in the background. I really like how this turned out as opposed to something just super solid looking. This is such a great project for beginners. I highly suggest that you try it. Okay, so now a little bit more about these brushes. As I said previously, they are 100% synthetic fibers. You can purchase one of these brushes right now on wonderforest.com. Supplies are limited, but I also have a special deal for you guys. If you want to grab my first set of round brushes, you can actually bundle the round brushes with the new brush, and you'll save a little bit of money. You'll combine shipping, so it's cheaper for you guys. So the link will be below, and you can also just find them on my website, wonderforest.com. Thank you guys so much for watching this. I know it's been a while since I've posted, but I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, like the video, leave me a comment. Let me know what you would like to see in the next one, and I'll see you there.